This is the Skin in the Game VC podcast, hosted by Tom Wallace, entrepreneur turned venture capitalist and the managing partner at Florida Funders. You'll learn from the best about investing in early stage tech companies, so you too can gain the confidence and find the tools that help you succeed as an angel investor. Are you ready to get some skin in the game?
Hello and welcome. This is Tom Wallace, and I'm back at you with our Skin in the Game VC podcast from Florida Funders. I'm one of the partners. I'm the managing partner of Florida Funders, and so happy that you're able to join us today. And I'm very excited about our guest, who is not a typical guest that we would have, but I'll get to that in a second. Wow, has it been a crazy week in technology? If you didn't see the Elon Musk interview of 2 nights ago, you got to go back and watch that. That was just absolutely fascinating. Elon told us all it's immoral to work from home. I don't know about that, but what he shared about AI and where things are going with autonomous vehicles and his vision, whether you like Elon or not, you got it. I think you'll get a lot out of that. So if you didn't do that. And then today, for the first time, I downloaded the AI chatbot from OpenAI. It just became available this morning. I paid $49 for a 1-year subscription. So I don't know how many of you had a chance to play with Bard, with Google's product, or ChatGPT, but they're definitely game changers, and it's really exciting to see where that's all going to go and how that's going to affect all of us. And we're looking at that a lot at Florida Funders, as we think it's going to change the whole startup world. And maybe we'll touch on that as well. And then we've got this whole debt ceiling with government that's hanging over our head. They seem to be making progress on that. And our guest today is from government, so maybe she can shed some light on that. So with that, I think most of you are familiar with our podcast. Our goal here is really all about learning. One of the things that I've always loved about technology and being in the technology industry is there's always something new to learn, and there's always somebody new to learn from. And everything's constantly changing. And you know, just as I mentioned with AI and autonomous vehicles and all the changes that are coming in technology right now at us at light speed is just so exciting. So with that, I'm honored and delighted to have Laura DiBella joining us this morning. And Laura, I'm going to give you a little intro to Laura and let her tell us a lot more about herself. But she is the Secretary of Commerce for the state of Florida, as well as the president or CEO of Enterprise Florida. And if you don't know what Enterprise Florida is, we'll talk a little bit about that. This is near and dear to my heart because at Florida Funders, our tagline, as many of you know, is Sunshine State to Startup State. We want Florida to be known for technology and innovation, not agriculture and tourism. And so, you know, government plays a role in that. We're going to talk about what that role is and how that they are, what they're doing, and how they can be helpful in all of us that are involved in the tech ecosystem. So welcome, Laura. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Great to be here. Honor's mine. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, welcome. And, you know, as I mentioned, you're the Secretary of Commerce. I'm guessing, I don't know this, that you're the first female Secretary of Commerce.
That is right. That is right.
Well, congratulations. And I know you haven't been in the job a few months or maybe a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, officially secretary a few months. I was acting, you know, basically I was deputy secretary, but acting secretary since July of 2022. So coming on close to a year.
Okay. Well, congratulations. You're the first female Secretary of Commerce for the state. Are you the youngest?
No, I'm not the youngest. I'm the youngest female. So yeah, I can win that award.
Yeah.
But,
well, I'm sure our audience would love to hear a little bit about, you know, your journey and where. I think you're a Florida native. I did a little bit of research, and you know, tell us a little bit. How did you get from, you know, to be the first Secretary of State for the state of Florida that's a woman?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm born and raised in Fort Lauderdale in South Florida. So my parents are immigrants. They immigrated here from Italy to the United States in 1966. So I have I'm first generation American. You know, I have that real, you know.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
that they have. So they're both entrepreneurs and everything like that. So I grew up watching the American dream, like in real time, basically. But yeah, I was born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, been a Florida resident my whole life. I've lived all over the state with a variety of hats that I'll tell you about in a minute. Went to University of Florida and basically went into the real estate business, more or less straight out of college. Did a few little things here and there on the marketing side for a couple of years, which was awesome for your 20s, but not beyond that.
My daughter's 26. She's in digital marketing, so I can relate to that.
Yes. It's it has a shelf life. It has a shelf life when more or less it's time to go. So
yeah,
I went full time into real estate, which was something I started as a hobby straight out of college.
Was it residential or commercial?
Started in residential. Residential into commercial. So that was 12 years. About a 12-year run was I was doing commercial. I was doing real estate, as a broker. I have my own brokerage, and then the last 7 of the 12 years, my bread and butter client was Hospital Corporation of America. So if you're not familiar, they're the largest private healthcare provider.
Sure, HCA out of Nashville, right?
HCA, yeah, they're huge. So I was doing all of their, more or less all of their real estate activities throughout the state of Florida. My firm was, and that was like my entree into economic development, because they, few realize that hospitals are as retail as Publix, or your big box retailers. Like hospitals go into areas of growth. They line themselves up, in the line of fire of growth, so they can accommodate the growing population of that area. They plant their roots very early, so it's very much part of the economic development game. They know where
Sure.
they know growth is going. So being a broker for them was basically my how I was exposed to economic development, is where I was recruited from. So Nassau County came calling, and I was working for them for 5 years, 2014 to 2019. Nassau County, Florida is the northeasternmost county in Florida. Amelia Island, if you're familiar, that's in Nassau County.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know where it was, but I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah. I always
actually thought it was in South Florida, truth be told. But
light bulbs go off when I say that. But the 2.5 years of the 5 years when I was with Nassau, I was basically voluntold to be port director for the Port of Fernandina, which is in Nassau County, but a completely separate government agency. So I willingly did it. They couldn't pay me, but I was like, you know what, this is a great opportunity, because I knew nothing about ports. I knew ports were good for the economy. That's it. Good for my economy. And that port was going through a little bit of a rough patch. So it needed somebody to oversee it and oversee it for cheap, as in free. So I did. So it was supposed to be a temporary assignment. It turned into a 2.5-year assignment. So I wore 2 hats my last 2.5 years with Nassau County as port director and economic development director. And I just loved the port industry.
So that was really your segue into government.
That was, yeah, kind of. The harbor pilots picked me up. They recruited me from that time. So from late 2019 to mid last year, 2022, I worked as the first executive director for the Florida Harbor Pilots Association. And those are the top guns of maritime that bring in all the ship traffic in and out of the seaport. So again, a quasi-governmental role. It was an association, but very much, we were regulated by state government. So,
sure.
You're in that space. But a very unique opportunity, and conveniently when the shutdown was, right before the shutdown happened. So I got like my crash course in supply chain and everything around it, because the harbor pilots are like your first line of defense.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. And we're going to talk about the whole COVID situation and the effect on the state, because I want to hear your perspective on that.
I certainly will. So, and then from there came the secretary opportunity. So I feel like, I have a pretty well-rounded view of this state and its economy and how it runs. I know it from the corporate side, I know it from the land side, and I know it from the water side. So now I can kind of put that all together and represent accordingly. So that's the story.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, again, congratulations. And, when touching on COVID, so you mentioned COVID, As most people know, Florida really was the most open state. Our governor, I think, in Mayor Suarez in Miami and some of our other mayors really led us and did a great job. I don't have a dog in that fight. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but when other states were shut down, people flocked here, as we all know, and they came from New York and they came from California, and a lot of them were tech people, and the Peter Thiels and the Keith Du Bois and the David Blumbergs, and some of our founders like Lucy Go, who was a brilliant young woman, moved here from San Francisco. She's a Thiel fellow and started a company called Passes, and I could go on and on. So we really benefited from COVID in a lot of ways, the state of Florida, and many of those people learned what we already knew was, hey, this is a great place to build a business, to recruit people, to get involved in the community, and many of them decided to stay. And so that's been great for us. Where do you see post-COVID Florida? How do you see us evolving, and how can we build on that momentum of moving more towards technology and innovation, and creating more of a state that's driven by technology and innovation?
Yeah, I mean, as unfortunate as the COVID situation was, it was an incredible boon, for our economy. It really, launched us into a different stratosphere altogether, especially on the technology front. So I honestly don't see the momentum dying down, now that is, thankfully behind us, that phase in our lives. It only continuing to accelerate because it's perpetuating upon itself. The amount of the influx of businesses, the realization that business needs to be done on East Coast time, in this new virtual universe that we're all that we've adapted to now, is really really what is driving a lot of these companies here. So there's one company in particular, a company named Leverex, that we brought from Silicon Valley. They planted roots in Miami recently, just in the past couple months. That was a direct quote from their CEO. And he's just like, I realized that I could not run a global operation from the West Coast any longer, because the go-to meeting is now Zoom, like this.
Yeah.
So I need to be, nimble. I need to be adaptable. I need to talk to all my people around the world. And it's more efficient, and it just makes for better business for me to be on the East Coast. And we're hearing the same thing, like again and again and again, like around that. But, so that started in Miami, but then we have Tampa, which is its own little hotbed of activity when it comes to technology and innovation, along with Orlando, or Olampa, we like to call it, Orlando and Tampa, kind of thrown moving together.
I haven't heard that before. I'm here in Tampa, so yeah, we are very close to the technology innovation scene here in Tampa. And you're right, Miami really led it, but we're not far behind. It's been very exciting, and then we've got all the stuff at the Space Coast, and it's statewide. It's extremely exciting. So government has a role to play in this, and I think COVID really showed that. I mean, our governor kept our state open while other governors were shutting their states down, and look what a difference that made. You've been the president or CEO of Enterprise Florida. I think probably a lot of our audience doesn't know what Enterprise Florida is, and it's my understanding that Enterprise Florida is going to go away. Is that correct? So tell us about that.
Yeah, so Enterprise Florida was created in 1996. Florida decided to convert its Department of Commerce into a public-private partnership to advance economic development and everything that surrounds that. In lockstep with the business community, so business leaders and government leaders together, moving that ball forward. So. That model lasted, close to 30 years. Obviously you can see now. So this past legislative session, a new, philosophical belief around economic development and how it should be handled here in Florida has come about. So they're going to basically go back to the future. We're going to, roll roll in Enterprise Florida into what is today the Department of Economic Opportunity. As of July 1st, will be converted to the Department of Commerce. So essentially 2 entities are going to be blended into one, back into the original format, which is the Department of Commerce. So that's so we're kind of getting I don't want to say getting rid of, but we are doing away with the public-private model and moving more into the official government model there.
And is it because it wasn't effective? I mean, I know from my standpoint, just watching this for the last couple of decades, a lot of the people in tech were always like, "What the hell's Enterprise Florida do? We don't know what those people do."
Yeah.
That was kind of the
Yeah, it's unfortunate that perception may have been out there, because we actually did a lot. What you're seeing now, is a byproduct of the public-private partnership model. So the economic development around its most successful models are public-private partnerships, actually, not government.
Mm-hmm.
Not government in totality. We were the first to do it. Florida was back in 1996, and other 14 other states have followed that model since. So it's a farce to say that it hasn't been successful, because look at where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually a
yeah, I didn't mean that disrespectfully. I'm just that's kind of speaking for my world.
I know you didn't, but it definitely it's definitely out there. So it's I'm happy you did, because I get to address it. So it's it's just a commonly misunderstood verticals within Enterprise Florida that exist. That now will be rolled into the Department of Commerce, but our in terms of tech, for all intents and purposes here, our Florida Opportunity Fund is one of those verticals within Enterprise Florida. That's actually my third hat. So I serve as the president of the Florida Opportunity Fund now, by virtue of my position elsewhere. So that will also be brought into the Department of Commerce, along with the other agencies, the Visit Floridas, and our Space Florida, and everything, military and defense, and all of that, Sports Foundation. So it's there's a lot that's going into this being swallowed whole. But again, there was a lot of misconception as to how much Enterprise Florida actually handled.
Yeah. Well, I think the Florida Opportunity Fund is wonderful and great for tech in Florida. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about the Florida Opportunity Fund? I think they'd be curious to
Florida Opportunity
know about
Fund,
that.
that's a really growing area of our economy, obviously by virtue of the sector just growing the way it is. So it's actually really exciting for me, because I wasn't really in this space very much until I came on board. But Florida Opportunity Fund is our venture capital arm. So it's where the state participates, takes a position in growing companies, traditionally not the initial seed round, maybe the Series A, or, around there. But it's a relatively smaller positions, I want to say, it's kind of the sweet spot, like 1 to 3 million ish, maybe. It depends on the deal. I'm not going to go ahead and, say it's only that, but where it falls in line with our targeted industries, where Florida wants to focus its energies on, in terms of job recruitment and creation. So it runs the gamut from, technology, all the 10 targeted industries, cyber, aerospace, manufacturing, healthcare, logistics, I could go on IT, all of that stuff. So that's where the investments are. And we are really churning and burning on our investment front. We're really cranking out the deals. There's a lot of companies that are coming to us, namely because of what's going on in the world. Funding is not as prevalent as it was before, as we all can attest. So the state of Florida is still very much investing, and we're seeing just a massive amount of activity there.
Yeah, and our friends at DeepWorks are managing that for you correctly.
They are.
Yeah,
yes,
and in fact, I think Florida Funders will, we're hopefully going to be participating in some of the funds that are allocated to Florida Opportunity Fund. How big is the fund?
The fund, well, it is around, well, it's just changed because we have the SSBCI funding that is coming in. So in totality, we have probably, I think it's close to 100 100 million. It depends on the day. Don't quote me.
Yeah, that's great.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was going to bring up, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Senate Bill 180. Are you familiar with that?
What was the name? What
I don't know the name of it, but it's basically sitting on the governor's desk, my understanding, for signature. So Senate Bill 180 was very important to us in the venture capital industry. And I don't want to get too technical here, and I'm not an expert in this area anyway, but the SEC controls venture capital at the federal level, and but some states had their own rules, is my understanding. 17 states had adopted the federal rules of the SEC, which says that venture capitals like us, we do venture capital. We don't have to be a registered investment advisor. We're not heavily regulated. Florida was not one of those states, which really is not. It's not pro venture capital, pro startup, and that is what Senate Bill 180 changes. It makes us one of those. It will be the 18th, I think, state. So we get to fall under the federal SEC venture capital exemption. So we're really excited about that. And the other one is the invest local.
That's a good. So no, I really wasn't too familiar with it. I mean, probably because it wasn't too much of an issue. I think everybody was on board with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the other one is the invest local bill, which I understand is not yet made it through the House, and that is. Encourages pitch competitions. In the past, pitch competitions, most people wouldn't know this, but it's pitch competitions. Technically, if you're pitching a deal, a founder, those people in the room have to be accredited investors. You can't really get into the terms of the deal and all that, even though many people did. That Invest Local will change that and make pitch competitions a lot less regulated, and you pretty much can do a pitch competition to anybody. So we're excited. Yeah. We're excited about that. I don't know if you're familiar with that at all.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think that's great as well. It's good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's very exciting. So we started talking a little bit about ChatGPT and artificial intelligence, and of course, Google has their product Bard out there. And as I mentioned, I just downloaded the app. I think the app just became available. And I wanted to get your perspective. We have changes coming in technology, a lot of changes, and these are really a lot of us within the industry believe they're game-changing technologies. If you listen to Kathy Wood, who's here in St. Petersburg now, artificial intelligence, autonomous vehicles, these are technologies that are going to change everything. How do you see Florida playing in that game, and also at the government level? I mean, one of the things that this artificial, generative AI is going to do is it's going to allow all of us as workers to be a lot more efficient. And there's a big push, I think, in most areas of government to reduce spending, and it seems like a phenomenal opportunity for the state. So I just wanted to get your perspective on it.
Well, we as a state, we're undergoing a massive transformation, on this front, as far as automation and advanced technology as it relates to transportation altogether. So, I think we may have a little bit more work to go, on driverless vehicles and, those types of things. I know we're getting there, but where we're seeing, a lot of advancements, and we're going to see, probably the greatest transformation in terms of, and this is where the state is participating, is on the eVTOL side. So the electric vehicle launch and landing type of applications, be it autonomous, or those that are, piloted, by people and, move people too, people movers. So think about the Jetsons, like little planes, that are buzzing around everywhere. So Florida is the Goldilocks market for this technology. And we will be probably the first to launch, to use a pun, of this industry. And it's going to change the way we do everything. It's going to change the way we move. It's going to change the way we shop. It's going to change the way we, just act on our daily lives.
So we're going to be the first to launch. Tell us more. The launch. I'm not sure I got that.
I would like to say that we are going to be the first to launch this here in the United States, if not the world, potentially.
This being, I'm just trying
Yeah,
to.
technology, just like the eVTOL technology, in terms of, adapting to, our everyday lives, becoming a mode of transportation for us. So we are working with several companies on this front. A lot of infrastructure partners that are completely agnostic to these companies have identified Florida as a very, very ripe market for this, and the right market in terms of, weird geography because of the way we're shaped. It just makes sense for something like this from a transportation standpoint. And then also, just we have the infrastructure to support it, because the infrastructure to support it largely is water. So we can build these facilities and make changes on the government level to like helipads, and such to support this type of vehicle. Now,
Interesting. In the Elon interview, I don't know if you saw it, he said that he drives around San Francisco today. He did 2-3 days in San Francisco driving around, never touched his steering wheel once. The car drove itself completely, and he did the same thing in Austin. And he believes autonomous vehicles will be hitting the market in 2024. He's obviously a great visionary. He has missed some of his predictions in the past, so we'll see what happens there.
As I believe, I struggle a little bit with that, but you know what? I'm always willing to try. I haven't been in one yet, but I'll see how I react.
Yeah. So when you look at what's going on in government now, and it seems like the debt ceiling looming over our heads, that this polarity between Republicans and Democrats, and there's not a lot of cooperation, and the two extremes seem to run everything. And for people like me who are in the middle and moderates, and really I'm an independent, it's frustrating for us. I mean, we want to see our government be more effective. We want to trust government more. Do you see that changing? Is anybody it just seems to get worse over time? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I truly hope so. I think there's going to be a righting, of this ship at some point, where the divisiveness, will hopefully will result in a more systematic collaboration, at least in some respect. I think we've kind of lost touch of more of the matters that are really important, policy, focusing on what's really what we really need, rather than, opinions and philosophies. So it's I understand and respect everybody's opinion, on both sides.
I'm glad you said that, because to me, that's what it really, I'm sorry to interrupt, that's what really drives me crazy is, whether you're left or right, you can respect the other people's opinion rather than saying they're evil and they're stupid. And, that just seems to be so much where we're at now. I don't know.
Yeah. I think we're I think we're going to reach a point where civility will prevail, and we will have to work together more. I typically, when things are good, when economic conditions are good, that's when, I think more wars begin. I feel like, when things don't, aren't going so hot, then everybody kind of crosses
pulls together.
Crosses and pulls together. So yeah. I think as we enter what, hopefully is not going to be a bad recession, but we're heading towards something. We're heading towards. I think it's going to force, those of not common mind today to come together and move forward in a more positive way. That's my hope.
Well, I hope so too, and I think everybody else out there, not speaking for everybody, I think most of us feel the same way. I got to talk to you about crypto. So, we're in this crypto winter. Miami was arguably the crypto capital of the world. And we just wrapped up eMerge, which is our big tech show that Florida Funders is very involved in Florida with the Medina family. And a year ago, it was all about crypto. All the crypto companies were there. This year, we really didn't have much participation from the crypto world. Governor DeSantis he passed something. I read about it in regards to, I think it was stablecoin. I don't even remember now. But if Florida and Miami are the crypto capital of the world, you're the Secretary of Commerce for the state of Florida. Where do you see crypto going? Do you believe in it? Do you think there's a future? And what role does Florida have in that?
Wow, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. I struggled truthfully to wrap my head around it. In the very beginning, and I was talking to companies in a different, my old capacity, talking to companies and relocating them, and just everything that was around it. I can't say where Florida is going to go with it right now. It doesn't look like it's going to go anywhere with it right now. But I could, the tides could change, but I think, just the general sentiment is that it was I don't want to say a fad, but it had its moment. It had its 15 minutes and now it's behind us. But it's not the future, but if it does come back, and it's going to be more regulated. It's not going to be, it's not going to be in the same format as it was before, same shape and look as before. It's going to be very, very different.
Yeah. I as you said, none of us know. And this era reminds me of 2001, the kind of the .com bust. I see this as kind of the crypto winter that'll last a couple of years. I think there will be survivors. I think the blockchain and Web3 technology that crypto is based on is very real and has many use cases outside of whether that'll be driven by tokens or. But I personally think that regulation would be good for the industry. And, I'm hopeful they'll come back, just like the .com bust. The survivors made it. Yahoo made it through. Amazon, these companies, the real companies with real products and real value made it through. And I think we'll see that in the crypto world. I think a lot of them are going to go away and probably need to. So it'll be interesting. And I'm hopeful for Florida too, because I think Miami was really driving that bus in a lot of ways, and so that was exciting. I wanted to touch. We're getting a little short on time. I wanted to touch on, the banking industry. So Silicon Valley Bank was a very close partner of us at Florida Funders. We did a lot of work with them. Of our 100 portfolio companies, 20% banked with Silicon Valley Bank. They were by far the most aggressive venture bank. And a lot of banking doesn't understand early stage tech. They did venture debt, which was, they were the leaders in that. And, obviously all our friends at Silicon Valley, most of them have gone to Citizens, so they're over there now. JP Morgan seems to be trying to make a push into that space. How do you see that? What do you see happening with the banking industry and the regional banks? And is the worst of this behind us? And, any perspective on that? And should it have ever happened,
Yeah, it's yet to be seen if the worst is behind us. I hope it is. We thankfully have not experienced a whole lot, especially on the, on the Florida Opportunity Fund side. So we weren't very exposed there. So, with a lot of the positions that we've taken, in certain companies and such. So we fared well, in terms of that. I personally worry, just in my capacity as, overall secretary of, what the fallout could remain, is definitely, biting my fingernails when Silicon Valley went under, and then the other one went under right after that, or was threatening to, the others that, continually pop up, certainly doesn't make you feel good about what potentially is out there that, could be the next shoe to drop or another black swan, it's there. I do worry about the credit tightening and, coupled with the interest rates and some of the other, matters that, maybe or that could, really spell doom in banking here. So it's just it's something I'm constantly on top of, but thankfully we seem to be weathering all right. But I know that there are certain markets right now, apart from Silicon Valley Bank, where basically building owners are handing over their buildings back to the bank. I worry about what is happening on the banking side as it relates to real estate because of what essentially the pandemic shutdown has done to commercial real estate assets in other places outside of Florida, really, not in Florida, but it certainly will affect Florida if some of these buildings go back to the bank.
Yeah. The whole remote work thing and the effect on office space is going to be really interesting to see the impact there.
Yeah.
By the way, in Elon's interview, you probably heard he said working remote's immoral. I don't know about. I'm not a huge fan. I agreed with him on I thought his point. I think he got a little carried away with it. But what I like. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like working from an office. Contrary to what you see today, I actually prefer to work from an office. I'm way more focused. I get more done.
I feel the same way. And having the team there and the synergy, and there's nothing like face-to-face. But and Elon, I think his point was you have people that can't work from home. They're building these cars in the background during the interview. Is it fair to the white-collar people to work from home? I think that was his point. But so we'd like to wrap up with our lightning round. So I'm just going to ask you, 5-6 quick questions, and your answer should be very brief. It can even be one word. And so we call it our lightning round. So here we go. You ready?
Sure.
All right. Who wins the AI war? OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, or somebody else?
Google.
Okay. Google with Bard. The price of Bitcoin, I think this morning, I didn't check it this morning, probably somewhere around 27,000 per Bitcoin. What do you think the price of Bitcoin is in 5 years?
Let's say 100,000.
100,000. Okay. I thought you might say zero from what you said earlier, but
I agree with you. It's probably going to come. It might come by a different name, but it might be something else. That's where that answer comes from.
Okay.
So,
who's your favorite person to follow on Twitter?
Oh, well, of course my boss, but Ron DeSantis. But I would say Elon. He's fascinating.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites too. Your favorite streaming show?
I do like Tech Tables. Not Tech. Our friends over there. Hold on. I'm not. Is it Tech Tables? Yeah.
I don't know that one.
I listen to them a lot. Joe Tost. Yeah. Is it Tech? Or is it Tech Stars? I'm forgetting. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand you're a long distance runner and quite competitive. What's the furthest you've ever run?
Oh, I've done 18 miles. Okay. 18 miles. So yeah, that's
impressive.
I've done 18 marathons. Excuse me.
Oh, you've done 18 marathons.
18 marathons.
Holy heck, that's very impressive.
Yeah. Tech Tables. Yes, that's right. I was right before. Sorry about that. Yeah, 18 marathons. So, it's definitely how I definitely what has kept me sane. But I haven't done a marathon in a while. It's been a couple of years. But
well, it's very impressive. And the final question: Would you possibly be the first female governor of the state of Florida?
Yeah. Well, I technically maybe, but probably maybe not. It depends if Lieutenant Governor Nunez, steps up into the governor role. She will be. So it's a fun question I get a lot. Like, well, why don't you run? I got that this morning.
I'm sure you do.
So I don't know. We'll see. Well,
Laura, thank you so much. This has been great. I know our listeners are really going to enjoy, tuning in and hearing your answers and your insights. And the best of luck in your career and with the state. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You all have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for the opportunity.
You too. And for our listeners out there, thank you for joining us today for our Skin in the Game podcast. Don't forget, we're a combination of a venture capital firm and a network of investors. So if you're an investor and you're interested in getting involved in the startup community and startup world, it's a lot more fun than investing in stocks or real estate, I got to tell you. Just go out to floridafunders.com. And if you're a founder with a great idea and you're about to start the next Google or Facebook or ChatGPT and you're interested in funding, go out to floridafunders.com. 5 minutes, fill out an application. You'll get in our process, and you never know. So with that, thank you and have a great day.
Thanks for spending your time with Skin in the Game VC today. If you want to learn more about investing in early-stage tech like a venture capitalist, be sure to visit the Florida Funders website at floridafunders.com. Join our angel network at no cost and get access to Florida Funders VC-vetted investment opportunities in the next great breakout tech companies.